Let's do some drywall.
Hey, here we are. Someone stepped through the ceiling. Oh my goodness, look at the damage they created. No problem, we could fix it. On this patch, it's a popcorn ceiling. We're just going to be matching the texture here, popcorn. Down the road, the homeowner might scrape and retexture the ceiling, but for today, we're just doing patching the hole that they created. So I'm just leveling the area, use my T-square and mark the area. I'm going to take this area about a 2 foot by 4 foot section. It just goes past the 2 foot mark, but that's okay. I'm just going to put in a little 6-inch piece of drywall next to the 2 foot by 4 foot section. If you don't have a T-square like this, you can also use a level, the 2 by 2, 2 by 4, whatever you got that's a straight edge. Always mark your area that you're going to cut out straight. Make a straight edge with a level and a pencil. That way you get a nice area to install new sheetrock. Sometimes demo is the most work. Let's say if this was a project you're trying to do yourself and you didn't want to hire a drywaller, if you wanted to save some money, just by you getting the area demoed and squared and ready for new sheetrock can probably save you some money. So not only is this a good video, you could just save money just getting the area ready before you hire someone. I don't recommend you do it unless you know what you're doing, but it is a good way you can save some money on the prep work. I'm just using a keyhole saw here. You can use a razor blade. Some guys like to use sawzalls as saws. Sometimes it's easy just to use one of these cheap drywall hand saws. It's about $7–10 for one of these keyhole saws, we call them. So get yourself a cheap little keyhole saw and you'll be surprised how powerful this little hand tool is. I'm just following along on my pencil line, cutting it out, making the patch nice and square. This same technique can be used on a 1 foot patch or a 5 foot patch. It's the same technique. You square off the area, you cut it out, get it demoed nice and squared, ready for a new piece of sheetrock. So basically it's the same step process. Get it nice and square, get it all cut out, usually cutting it out. But this has sprayed insulation, that's why I'm wearing a mask. This stuff is messy and dusty. The house is built mid to late 70s, but it's not really the age of the house that's bothering me. It's the stuff falling down, the sprayed insulation. The stuff makes an easy job turn difficult. So we just try to contain the area. That's what the plastic is surrounding it. So we contain the mess and keep everything inside the plastic tent that we created. It is just in a garage, so it doesn't have to be the best protection, but when you're doing inside of a house, especially a customer's house, you want to have the full area contained when you're doing prep. On this is just a pre-fill. I'm pre-filling the sheetrock. As you can tell, I just did a little 6-inch piece next to the 2 by 4. That way I didn't have to cut into the light box area and disconnect the wiring for the light. I'm just pre-filling the gap where the new sheetrock meets the old. Just do a quick pre-fill. I'm using a 5-minute mud. You can also use any kind of material. Whatever material you are, just let it set up before you do another coat. Now I'm going to follow through with my pre-fill and I'm going to use a fiberglass mesh tape. I always use fiberglass mesh tapes on any job that I'm going to complete in the same day. You could use paper tape, why not? But I'm using a fiberglass mesh tape. It's a stronger material. It helps for longevity so we don't get cracks or recracks and stuff like that. So that's why we like to use this fiberglass mesh tape. But just get it pushed up. Sometimes it's stubborn tape. It doesn't like to stick to old drywall where old meets new. So sometimes you got to push it up, pre-fill it, whatever it takes to get your tape to stick to the surface before you do your first coat. I'm pushing it down. Get the area here. Just make sure everything's all taped up. All your corners are taped up. Everything's taped up. Around your light box, always do around your pipes and light boxes nice and tight. We don't want no gaps around any boxes. Once everything's all taped up, whatever mud you have left over, of course, use it up. You already mixed the material, so go ahead and put some mud on your tape. And if you need to, go mix some more materials. Do a nice first heavy coat. The beauty about popcorn ceilings is that most of the stuff under popcorn ceilings only been taped and first coated. They don't go through the actual process of doing a second coat or a third coat before they do popcorn because they know the popcorn hides a lot. So the same thing with these patches, we just get the area nice and taped and we follow it with a nice heavy first coat. You can tell I'm floating out this patch really heavy. I'm going to feather it out. Nice heavy coat patch on this. This is a healthy, thick first coat of 5 minute. Like I said on most of my videos, if you're not comfortable with using hot muds, you can always use a joint compound. I recommend joint compounds for people that don't work with drywall all the time, drywall muds, because with a joint compound, if you do make a mistake, you can sand off your mistakes. With the hot muds, not as forgiving. Once it sets up, it sets up. As you can tell, this mud right now is setting up. It's about the 3 to 5 minute mark, so I follow it through just like on my past videos working with hot muds. I use a wet sponge and a 6-inch knife. I feather the edge and I get it wet, and then I just take off the extra material. Basically, this knifing slick out technique almost treats it like a second coat. So we take off the extra materials and we just feather out the area and basically makes a nice coat job. So if you work the mud just right with these hot muds, your one coat is 2 coat job. Now we're going to spray the area with a popcorn sprayer. With this popcorn, it's a really hard to find item, but some of the big stores still carry it. With this job, it needs a lot of popcorn, so I had to get a specialty popcorn because a lot of people don't sell it anymore. When you mix the popcorn, you just mix it like regular mud, but it does have styrofoam in it. I like to spray the patch really heavy. Get the patch really heavy, spray it with popcorn, and then I like to follow through with the surrounding other area and feather it out. So I'll spray in this whole area, basically this whole ceiling area, so you don't see a patch on the ceiling. Most guys would just spray the patch and call it good, but we like to spray the whole area out so it fades it out. So you don't see a bright, brand new, bright white spot on the ceiling. You feather it out so it kind of feathers out the texture and it makes it blend out the best. As you can see, now I finished the patch and I'm going to spray the rest of the ceiling out. I'm just going to feather it out. I'm spraying into the angles. I'm just basically using up all my popcorn materials because I have no use for it. So I'm just going to try to use as much on the ceiling as I can. Not only does it freshen up the ceiling, it makes a perfect patch job when you spray from angle to angle, basically the whole work area. This is in a garage, like in a little workshop area, so I'm basically spraying out his whole workshop area. Look at that. Brand new ceiling, step through, no big deal.